Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think it's important to know what memory care communities are, because my suspicion, especially folks who are a little bit of an older generation, I come across folks sometimes who think of it much more like a long-term nursing home that's sort of scary back 30 years ago, and it's so not that. I have been admissions director in a memory care community, and it can be a beautiful thing for loved ones to move their family into this because it offers so much. So what is it? I'm gonna jump from my analogy of our large ships, and I'm gonna go think back to college. Dorm rooms, right? So we're coming back more to a smaller type of setting. When somebody has memory loss, they need their world to be smaller. Their ability to process is lower, and to make them as independent as long, we need to give them little bits of information, not lots. And so what that means is you're not renting an apartment just like you would be renting in an assisted living or independent living. You're renting a bedroom, basically. And you might even be sharing a room, but a lot of times you can have your own. You may have your own bathroom, you may not. And maybe it's a building with just 16 people, or maybe it's a building with 10 people, or maybe up to about 32 is the highest I see it. So 32 is getting a little bit outside my comfort zone, but it can work depending. So oftentimes they're cottages. There might be 5 cottages on a campus. There might be 10 cottages on a campus. There might be 1. So in that world, when you walk out of your door from your bedroom, you're in a very common area where you're gonna hang out and watch TV with other people. You're gonna hang out and eat with 15 other people. It's much smaller. But they're gonna bring in some live music. They're gonna have some activities that are designed specifically for memory care. I can't tell you how many daughters have come to me that says, this assisted living is the worst in the world, and they litany off all these things that's not happening. Well, actually, what's happened is that mom's progressed with her memory loss, and their staffing's 1 to 17. Can you guess what a good memory care staff ratio might be? Not Abby? Judith, you might have a good guess. Yes, that's my happy place. She gets a gold star. So Judith said 1 to 5. So 1 to 5 is my happy place for people, for a memory care to have a staffing ratio. So it's kind of going to that foster home, right? 1 to 5. Now, a lot of times it's 1 to 7, 1 to 8. I've occasionally seen 1 to 10. But 1 to 5 is a really good ratio. So in that cottage of 16, there might be 3 care staff during the 7 in the morning to 11 at night, and then there'll be somebody at night. So this is the most important, and this is where people, they can't be an advocate for themselves because they may not have the cognitive ability. And so this is the one where I know families are most concerned about placing their loved ones in. And one of the things you will ask if you are doing some tours on your own for your loved one is talk about the staff ratios, ask them. I've occasionally come across where I swear I feel like the marketer is adding in the housekeepers and the cooks to their staff ratios. So you really got to ask, how many caregivers are there during the first shift? How many medication aides? Sometimes I see where it's, that medication is it's got 35 people to deal with. That's too much in my book. But that's not uncommon, right? So, there's ways, and I'm going to go through a little bit of what you look for in a quality community. You can also hire somebody like me, but you can certainly do it on your own. So it's dorm-style living. It's 24-hour awake staff, just like assisted living. It's got a lot of similarities to what it offers. There's housekeeping, there's cleaning, there's food, pays for your utilities. It pays for that staff ratio. So you can think about that. That staff ratio means you're going to jump up in price even more, right? So now we're going down to a much smaller real estate and the price goes up. So you're seeing a trend, right? And so that means that you can, if it's a private room with care, $7,500 to $10,000, easy. You can get a little less if you do a shared room. And I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with family, oh, mom would never want a shared room. Oh, well, who is mom now and who was she a year ago? So part of my job is to help folks accept where a loved one is and actually what they would like. I mean, sometimes I did a great job in the memory care, right? I had these 2 little ladies and they both woke up late. Their both names were Betty. It worked out beautifully. They really liked each other in that room. So we can't judge always where somebody's at with memory loss. And that's where we kind of have to talk to other professionals to help us accept where things are at. So memory care is locked. If I had a PowerPoint, I would show you what that means, because sometimes people say, Dad was a forester. He is gonna go crazy if I lock him into memory care. So if he's somebody like that, I'm gonna talk about the community that has a big, huge garden space and has 5 cottages that surround it and has fences around it. It's a whole little neighborhood, and it's lovely. It's very pretty. That's gonna be the best fit for him. If I've got a lady who's pretty high functioning but we need to put her in memory care, she can't quite make it an assisted, and she's still visually aware of her surroundings, and she has always had a very high aesthetic and she's still aware, then I'm probably gonna have to choose a new community that's got a very visual appeal, because she's at the stage where that's important to her, right? So that's when I say, what's the best community in town? Yes, the staff ratio is important. Yes, who owns the building can be important. Yes, is the management changing all the time? Those things are all important, and that's why those are things I know. But we also have to understand what are the values of the person, right? It's really important for a person to have outdoor space. It's really important for a person to have their private bathroom because they're at that stage. So that just gives you a flavor of what it is that I do and how you can start to think about it too. Make sure you're just accepting where your loved one is. So when is it too late to place somebody in memory care? When will they say no? And I do come across this enough that this is the one that my harder ones. Again, we go back to that 2-person assist. That's a pretty standard across the board because it takes 2 people off the floor. Now we have less people on the floor for the rest of the folks, so that's kind of the reasoning. I can still get people in on 2-person assist, but very rarely. The issue with behaviors, right? So behaviors can happen, whether they're paranoia, anxiety, or aggressive behaviors. If you move in, just like if you moved into that assisted living where you've got a little memory loss and you can kind of age in place, it's the same thing. If you move in with not the major behaviors, and then maybe some behaviors come up, they're gonna really try to work with you. But if you try to get in the door with major behaviors, they're gonna kibosh it, right? So this is where people can wait too late. Memory care is also not specifically for hospice. So we wait until somebody's on hospice and move them into memory care. Most memory cares are gonna say no, because really this is for living, for getting things, that they're not designed just for hospice, I guess is the main way to put it. And I will talk about the one hospice house in town. It's amazing and it's good. So we do have that available here in town, way out Coburg, almost towards Coburg, really, the town. So I think that's it for regarding that. Let me give you a little resident profile. Mary was living in an assisted living for over 3 years successfully. She has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but had not been able to navigate the small one-floor assisted, or had been able to navigate the small one-floor assisted until recently. So if I'm moving somebody in with memory loss, but there can still be an assisted, I'm gonna probably look at a small assisted living so they can navigate and kind of get an understanding of it a little better. She's been going into other people's apartments at least a couple times, so she's getting disoriented to her space. That's a common thing in dementia. The community was concerned she might get disoriented even more and wander outside. So if you start to wander in assisted living, guess what happens? You get an eviction of 72 hours, or you have to bring in 24-hour care, which I told you is about $25,000 to $30,000. So you really want to kind of start thinking about it. When that care community comes to you and they have a care conference with you, and you're the daughter, you're the spouse, and they start to say, you really need to be looking at a memory care, and you push it off because you don't believe that, listen to them, I guess, is the biggest advice, because you can get into that scenario I just said, which is not a fun one to be in. So she's also forgetting when to come to meals. She still likes to go to activities. This is Mary again. But family notes she is unable to participate well in many of the activities. She can't play cards anymore. But she's happy if she has things to do and some purpose in her days. We are purpose-driven people. We need purpose, right? So we want to make sure that that community is offering the activities that help create purpose. Can they help at the front desk? Can they help put, plates on the table if they want? So we placed her into a memory care, but that has a high level of activities and enough high-functioning residents. So she has peers at her cognitive level. So we really have to look at who she is, and not just the community, but who's living in the community. Can I say, oh, that looks just like mom? I could see them getting to be friends, right? You want to assess that.